pastor in studio, Rev George Murichu. Huyu nimemtafuta, huyu hapatikani. Hii nimemtafuta huyu. Sijui niseme nilianza kukutafuta lini.
Usiseme.
Acha nisiseme. I see you around. I see you Sitam Church online. I see you on the RAF. I see you're also a deputy pastor. You're also a young family guy like me here. Before even get into the momentum conversation, how do you maintain all these things, man? How do you give time for family, for service, for this? Because you're very busy.
I first of all, Karis, thank you for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. I know that, God makes all things beautiful in His time.
True.
So really, really delighted to be here. And you've asked about all those. It's like sometimes juggling different balls. And the reality is, at least in my experience, it's never perfect. It's never what I would envision. I don't want to give 100% in this, 100% there. And sometimes it feels like, being stretched in this way, being stretched in another way. So really, the skill is to prioritize. What can I put before the other? What can I place first? And so when there's a weekend or there's a day and there's an activity and it's clashing with something else, it's to have those conversations. Sometimes it's internal and sometimes it's with different people, different stakeholders. It may be family, it may be friends, it may be ministry, and seeing, okay, I know that I'm limited, so where can I be at what time?
Wow.
Yeah.
Rev George Murichu, Deputy Senior Pastor, Sitam Woodley. Now, as we talk about keeping the momentum,
yes,
you do all these things, sir. You don't want to be seen as, you're on this particular one, unafanya vizuri, this other side, kuna venye inaanguka. Unaregarega.
Yes.
I asked people this question here, what they are doing, keeping them to maintain the momentum. They also are saying, every day they remind themselves that they are here to serve God. There are also those who say it's easy for me to be a Christian on Sunday, and but at work, it's not easy. So you find like there's an imbalance in their walk, because here things are okay, here things are not okay. Now I feel like you're the right person. First of all, you're a young person, you have a big role in the church, and you are also going out to talk to young people, and you are all in all these spaces. What is the secret to maintain the momentum? Usianze na roho alafu roho inalegea kidogo then uko kwa roho zaidi
una rega. I don't know if it's a secret, because the scripture is clear. I'm sure you've read Proverbs 8. It talks about wisdom. Wisdom is crying in the streets. It's calling out loud. So I think that in many ways, there's wisdom is available. Wisdom is available for us to keep the momentum, to maintain the momentum. God says wherever we lack, we should ask. And as we ask Him, He gives it generously. Yani He gives it in abundance. And then it also says He gives it graciously. So I mentioned earlier one of the things I've been learning in this season of my life, because you've talked about family, you've talked about ministry, you've spoken about different roles, which by God's grace, that's my space right now. So a skill that I'm learning, every day is that of prioritization. And prioritization is you place certain things prior. What comes before the other? Obviously, our relationship with God should come before all else, because that's your and you're in a jazzer tank. That's what fuels you. So what comes prior is that time with God. And then based on that time of prayer, that time of being in His Word, I find that when that is sorted, like Jesus, when He'd start the day early in prayer, solitude, by the time He's done with that, miracles are just flowing. You know, miracle signs, wonders, and all that. So I found that when I order my private space, especially with God, when I have that prayer, when I seek first His kingdom, to imagine, Karis, all these other things, they begin to find their place. Let me give you an example. There's someone who said, I don't know who it is. I'm forgetting. I think it was a CEO. He was asked a similar question, and he said if he had a glass jar and he had pebbles, easy big stones, smooth stones, and then he had sand. He has to determine which one do I put in first. And so he said, if you have those pebbles, let's say you have 5, you place them in before you place the sand.
True.
Because if you place the sand first, there won't be space for the pebbles. But if you place the pebbles in the glass jar first,
the space for sand.
Sand it, you know, itaingia. So those pebbles, our relationship with God, our faith, you know, our family, fitness, taking care of your temple. And I'm saying these things not that I have arrived. You know, these are areas where I'm pressing on, pursuing. So that's in a nutshell.
Wow. Somebody tuned in who is a Christian, and you know, they keep falling or wanateleza. Wengine hata washaamua wameanguka, you know, they like, I'm no longer a Christian. And you're like, you know, they started well. What are some of these things? What can Christians do when in this walk, and when they are facing such challenges that you know, if without certain knowledge, then ndio kuteleza, ndio kuanguka. Wengine wanaanguka tu sana. Nasema yeye asongagi, ni stagnant. Kazi yake tu ni kusimama kuanguka, kuanguka. Anapata neno anasimama. Kesho kura anapata neno tena anasimama. And what can you tell such Christians right now? Because when we talk about momentum, for them it's a step forward, step backward, a step forward, a step backward, step forward, and it's a routine.
It's a routine, so it's become a pattern of rise and fall. They're on a slippery slope. And so first, a number of things come to mind. The first one is what Paul says, I press towards the mark of the high calling. You can already see he has a vision. He has somewhere he wants to be in his relationship with God. And he says right there in Philippians, he talks about that I may know him, that I may know the power of his resurrection. So to that person who is stuck in that space of rising, falling, we fall down, we get up, and that's their song. They don't have another one. And there are seasons where you can be in that kind of space. My encouragement to them would be the words of Paul right into the church at Philippi. He says, Philippians chapter 3, he says that I press towards the mark of the high calling. Elsewhere in Ephesians 4, he talks about living lives worthy of the calling. So my encouragement would be to them to remember that first love. Remember that place where the Lord saved you. Remember that first time where you were so broken at the altar. Remember that place where you first met Jesus, you encountered him, and your life was transformed. And that's the space at which John tells us that we are to return to our first love. You know, it's the season, Karis, you know, it's the season that oftentimes people talk about love and all that. And when people are in love, they are unashamed. They wear love like pregnancy. Yani kila mtu anaiona tu. It's this space where they want to post pictures. They want to show Bae, this is Bae, pale WhatsApp.
Yeah, my king.
You know,
t-shirt. His queen.
you know, Karis. So what if the question is, where is your love at with the Lord? If you're in that space of rise, fall, Ebu revisit that first love. That place where at the cross, where I first saw the light. And I'm telling you, that place, that's a powerful place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk to a brother or a sister mwenye, you know, in his spiritual walk anaweza sema momentum iko sawa, but even the place they work, there are challenges. Even the economy right now might be the challenges making people to like ngoja nisimame kwanza nifikirie another direction or something. You know, the hard times and maybe the challenges people face at work or even in their own lives, you know. Somebody says I'm walking straight with God, but then hata mtoto hapo ndio ameenda ile njia nyingine, now hata ana feel, you know, there's nothing, God ameachana na mtoto wangu, mimi sana mserve kwa nini. Like there are external surroundings that are affecting such an individual, and in one way or another, all of us, if you look at our external and our families and how things we want them to go, we might ask questions, you know, how kunaenda aje, why some have gotten into that you know, to that place where they no longer want to walk with God, not because of what they are seeing in their lives, but what is happening around them.
Wow. I agree with you. We live in interesting times, and of course we know our realities. We know where we are at as a nation. We know our economic state. And so you're right, there's some people who, because of all manner of things, external realities, they can begin to drift away. So I think about Daniel. Daniel had every reason to say, mimi na wewe, cheers. You know, he could have left that group of walking with the Lord. He could have said, insofar as walking with the Lord is concerned, I am calling it quits. Because think about it, he was exiled, left the comforts of, you know, a royal life, then he's exiled to this foreign land. In this foreign land, he has to learn all manner of things. He has to learn about pagan practices in Babylon. He's subjected to all kinds of culture shocks. And then, where he's at, they institutionalize idolatry. Wanasema it is legal for you to worship other gods. In fact, it is illegal to worship any other than this. So externally, he was in a hostile environment. But Daniel is such a great example because Daniel models for us, no matter what's happening around, your control is within. You may not control all those realities, but you can purpose in your heart. Like Daniel resolved not to defile himself. Daniel resolved to keep praying even when prayer was illegal. Daniel is this guy who he had a resolve. So that's what I'd say to that person who, because of hardship, because of realities, they're contending. Should I keep following? I'd say to them, keep following. We have great examples like Daniel, but more so our best example of all is Jesus, that he set his face like flint towards Jerusalem. Na akasema, I'm going. I'm going. So keep going, keep the momentum, no matter what's happening all around.
You know, Paul makes it even interesting when he says, you know, you guys should be feeding on, I should be teaching you other stuff, but you are stuck on milk. I don't desire that should be any of us.
Yes.
That we are stuck at the same place. That anytime we just being fed on the same thing. Ni kuamshwa tu na guruma tu songi nakuja tena
na we need to mature.
I read that verse and I'm always it always comes back to me, you know. How am I growing? How am I walking with God? If Paul comes to this generation today, will he tell us something else? Ama atabaki tu kwa the same basics, and that's why we're talking about momentum here, because we need to there's a space God is preparing us, has already prepared for us, not even has already prepared for us. When he talks of a future that involves to prosper us and not to harm us, and where you're at right now, you're like, you know, nataka kuenda huko, then if we fail to keep the momentum, then tunarudingi tu rivers,
you keep going back.
And God is so patient, atatungojea, but time pia inaenda sana. Wow. We take a short break. When we come back, Rev George will be sharing what God has put in his heart. And thank you so much. I see people are tuning in. Kuna mtu hapa anasema Chamge. I don't know if you know that language pasi.
Yes. Lugha ya Mursik.
Ya Mursik. Huko ndo kwa linatoka huko hivyo. Kondo mtaa. Zilena Simon kwa pale Karioko locked in and some they are being blessed. We're talking about keeping the momentum. And when we started this conversation, it was about how to start strong. And we were challenged that there is nothing like starting strong if you do not know God, if you do not have God, and if you do not know some truths about God. You start from a point of knowing who God is and knowing that he has your best interests at heart.
Amen.
That he is the fuel you need and all that. And from what you've shared, maybe we fail at the momentum aspect because now we forget this fuel.
Spot on, Karis.